it's very good to see that people can come, take time away from their daily life to practice the meditation, to learn the practice that they don't know yet, or to renew or to continue the practice that they know. Of course, we can practice in our own home also, but it's good to come to a place that's specifically designated for doing this practice so that you can develop it maybe in a more suitable environment. Yes. Yeah, it's not that one cannot practice meditation at home, but it's that quiet does help. And also having instruction from a teacher and having a group of people with whom you do it together, all these things are supportive. However long you have, whether it is a few days or whether it is a week or longer, if you apply the instructions, you will get benefits. So you should feel confident and that if you go, you apply the instructions in a regular way, that you can progress and that you can gain benefit. The teachings of the Buddha have 3 basic sections. They are morality, concentration, and wisdom. Morality in Pali is sila, concentration is samadhi, and panya is wisdom. And sila, morality, which is the restraint of our actions and our speech so that we don't harm others, this is the foundation for our practice. With this foundation of restraining our actions and speech and not harming others, we can start to develop concentration. And from concentration comes wisdom. So none of this will be able to develop without the foundation in restraint of actions and speech. So the first thing we are going to do is to undertake the moral precepts. So there are many forms of precepts. Some people take 5 precepts, or 8, or 9, or 10, and monks and nuns may take more than that. But the minimum level of morality that we need to keep are the 5 precepts, which are not to kill, not to steal, not to commit adultery, not to lie, and not to take drugs and intoxicants that cloud the mind. So these 5 misdeeds, killing, stealing, adultery, lying, and taking drugs and intoxicants, these are things that harm others as well as ourselves. And of course, although taking drugs and intoxicants may not seem like it harms others, it leads us to not know the difference between what is good to do and what is not good to do. And therefore, it is also a culprit in committing wrong. So this is the minimum that people need to live together in society. But here we're at a residential retreat, so it's better to take the 8 precepts, or as here we take the 9. So in addition to these 5, which are restraining our actions and speech so that we don't harm others, we restrain ourselves further. Instead of simply refraining from adultery, we refrain from sexual activity. Whether we have a spouse or not, we refrain from sexual activity while we're on retreat at this center. And then we also limit the amount of time that we spend eating. We don't eat after 12 noon up until dawn of the following day. And this, mostly it gives us more time to practice. And people can survive on this. It's good to it's good to keep this practice. Sometimes people snack, but the better our foundation is, the better our practice will be. So try to keep this purely. And then, so that's a change to the 5 precepts, that we keep the precept to observe celibacy. Then 3 additional, and in this case 4 additional ones, not eating except between dawn and noon. And then we refrain from entertainment, beautification, and adornment, watching shows, listening to music. Of course, if someone is singing in the neighborhood, you can't help hearing it. That doesn't break the precepts, but turning on the radio, listening to your whatever songs you might have on your player. And then no beautification. We just use things like deodorant or soaps to keep ourselves from offending other people, but not to make ourselves beautiful. And then adornment, wearing jewelry, silver, and so on. And then the precept not to sleep or sit on a higher or luxurious place. So when we, in part, these things help us to live a solitary life. These additional precepts, they're not, if we eat food in the evening, we're not harming other people. But when we refrain from eating food in the evening, we have more time for meditation. And things like going to entertainments, eating dinner and so on, having a very high and luxurious or big bed to sleep in, they can often lead us to getting involved in activities with other people, such as sleeping together. So when we're meditating on retreat, we want to refrain from things that promote sensual pleasures. And when we return to our lay life, of course, we can resume our normal activities, eating dinner in the evening, watching movies. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But on retreat, it's a support to the practice to refrain from these things. And then here at Saddhamma Ramsi, we take the 9th precept to develop an attitude of loving kindness towards all beings. So please repeat. So that just means we've taken refuge in the Buddha, the person who taught this method that we're going to learn, the Dhamma, that is the teaching of the Buddha, and those who practice, the Sangha. Technically speaking, the order of monks and all the people who have realized liberation. But it also includes those who are working towards liberation. For now, what I would like to say is that we try in this practice to use the mind, to be aware of our mind and body. And one way we can do this is to be aware of what posture we're in. So now we're sitting. So we just try to put the mind on the whole body, to feel it sitting. And make the label. We also use the label because it helps us to develop mindfulness. So we the first thing to try to do is, now we're in the present posture of sitting. Just try to put your mind on the whole sitting posture and at the same time label it as sitting. So we focus the mind, focus the attention on the whole body sitting, and try to see it with the mind, just like we're seeing it with the eyes. And just the same, when we find we're in a standing posture, then we can try to focus the mind on the entire body standing. And at the same time as we focus the mind on the whole standing posture, we make the label standing, standing. And when we're walking from one place to another, we can put the attention on the leg that is moving, and at the same time we can make the label stepping. As we step with one leg and then the other, we can label it as walking, walking, or stepping, stepping. Putting the attention, focusing the mind on the leg that is making the step. And in the same way, when we're lying down, when we lie down to go to sleep, tonight you can put your mind on the whole body as it's lying there, and just observe lying, lying. So this is how we can, if we've never practiced meditation before, or if we're new to this practice, then you can just try to be aware of the four main postures during the time that we have until the further instructions are given. So for those of you who already know how to do this practice, you can please continue your practice as you know. So that's all for tonight. Sadhu, sadhu.